Hi everyone, hope you guys are all having a great day today. In today's video, I'm going to go over BlackBerry stock because there has been a few press releases plus CES. Going to play a video as well, going over a little bit of CES stuff, go a little bit over the technicals as well. And overall, the stock's been doing pretty well. Like if you're a long-term investor like me, by the way, just keep in mind, I do own shares in the company, so be aware that while you're watching this video, I'm not a professional, so please do own due diligence and research before buying and selling. But if you're a long-term investor like me, you've known before when the stocks go down in terms of the market, BlackBerry tends to come down as well, if not even more. And that is unfortunate, but the past few trading days, within the weeks and all that stuff, the market was going down, yet BlackBerry would either hold well or close in the green like we've seen today. So the market was down, relatively speaking, for the most part, somewhere between 1.5 to 1.6%. Yeah, BlackBerry closed in the green. I know obviously it's not massive, 0.25% up, but closed at $4.06 US. But still, that is quite impressive, especially if I show you the data points, which I could show right about now actually. So basically, I'm going to pop up Robinhood data. And this Robinhood data shows for the past 2 trading days, the volume has been predominantly in the retail side. I believe this data reflects the retail investors that are trading on Robinhood. The past 2 trading days have been predominantly sales, especially today, majority selling. Yet the stock has been going up. So that's either data points, not data points, either retail investors from other brokerages are buying more strongly, or institutional investors are buying more strongly to pop up. And again, this is going against the current, because the current is more to the downside in the overall market. And then Robinhood, in terms of retail investors, are selling, yet the stock popped up regardless and closed in the green, regardless of the downward force of the market and more retail investors from Robinhood selling. So quite impressive in my opinion. I think, and I've stated this multiple times, again, I do own shares in the company, so be aware of that while you're watching this video, but I think this management team is doing a phenomenal job delivering on their promises, cash flow positive, and then not only delivering on their promises, but also delivering on the promises early at times, which is amazing. We got some great news coming in all the time, and we have more stuff coming in the future that is just pretty much showing great. From these collaborations and partnerships, you could almost see that these things are going to start stacking up quite significantly. And obviously people want to see revenue growth, but I think that will come from the way this new management team is performing. So pretty awesome stuff, right? But again, I do own shares in the company, so be aware of that while you're watching this video, right? Now in this video, I'm going to go over the press releases like I stated, the CES video, a little bit of the technicals, and then go from there, share my opinion. And a quick thing before I continue, on January 14th, 2025 at 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time, BlackBerry will be participating in an upcoming investor event, and that is the 27th annual Needham Growth Conference. I will be live streaming that on my video or my channel, both on YouTube and X. So if you want to be notified, consider subscribing and following when I do live stream. And I do constantly post BlackBerry videos as well. So if you want to be notified when those videos come out, consider following and subscribing, as well as market videos. But I'm sure you're here mainly for a BlackBerry video for the most part. And if you find this video beneficial towards the end, consider dropping a like. It does help with the channel, so thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. So that way this gets spread out to more people, so they're more aware of BlackBerry stock in general, right? Now, in terms of the press releases, I'm going to go over one press release that's a little bit old, but I still think it's beneficial because it was posted on January 2nd, but it's a little bit of partnerships kind of suggesting this as well. And I think that is a positive sign in my opinion. So BlackBerry unveils strategic relaunch of QNX brand to reinforce leadership in the automotive and general embedded industries. Divisional name change builds on brand strength and trust in QNX's foundational software. So previously named BlackBerry IoT, if you remember, BlackBerry has 2 divisions, BlackBerry IoT and then the cybersecurity division, which has changed to secured communications, if I remember correctly. And the decision to rename the division as QNX and relaunch the QNX brand was shaped by input from customers, partners, which to me, this is the most important, partners are also suggesting this, employees and other stakeholders, and its revitalization represents an important milestone in QNX's storied history, along with the recognition of its potential to play an even bigger role powering the next generation software-defined vehicles and mission-critical systems of the future, which you can see a lot of companies are seeing the potential, right? So I'm going to touch base on that as well soon. But if partners are suggesting this as well, I would say that if they don't really care, they wouldn't really be saying anything. But if they do see a future in this, I think their input means that they see more potential, right? So it's obviously not guaranteed, but I'm trying to see what would be the purpose, right? Unless it should be somewhat positive, relatively speaking. Not crazy, but it's decently positive, right? So statement from Giamatteo, CEO of BlackBerry. Relaunching the QNX brand is an important step in BlackBerry's broader strategy to increase our visibility and fortify our leadership within the automotive and embedded industries, with a view to better positioning us for sustained growth and success. The values that QNX stands for have always been a cornerstone for our customers, and this brand relaunch honors that strong history while setting the stage for the division to fire on all cylinders and drive smarter, safer, faster innovation through precision engineered performance. So pretty awesome stuff. And let me see, there was a couple things that I wanted to mention that was on this thing. Oh, right about here. So over the coming months, additional platforms and products may be updated to reflect the division's new brand identity, including the MyQNX development environment. As part of the QNX brand revitalization, the company also unveiled the refreshed logo, website, and distinct visual identity for the new division. So here's the website. Nothing necessarily crazy, but it's just obviously they have updated logo, website, and all that stuff. Now, the next thing I want to show, and then I'll move on to the next press releases, is right about here, senior product engineer, or senior, I think it says right about here, senior director. Sorry about that. Senior director of engineering. He goes over what they're going to go through at CES and the booth, in my opinion, because I've seen the booths before in terms of just images and videos. They were decent sizes, but not necessarily massive. And I think this one, if I'm not mistaken, looks pretty massive, which to me shows a little bit more promise that the future could be pretty bright, right? But they go over a few stuff. I'm going to play the video in a couple seconds. It's about 1 minute and 38 seconds. But they show like they have partnerships and collaborations, for example, with Amazon, Google, and like Stellantis. And we've seen before NVIDIA, AMD. So this company, in my opinion, is still, even though the revenue is not there yet, and it will be climbing, in my opinion, because this management team is doing an amazing job delivering on their promises, and I'm seeing growth from what they're saying, that in time, all these things will bear fruit, in my opinion, but we'll see. And like, I don't think the company is going anywhere in terms of the negative side, because they're doing a great job moving forward with partnerships and collaborations, right? Like we've seen with Microsoft, which I'm going to go over soon as well. But I'm going to play the video right now.
Hi, I'm Giamatteo, Senior Director of Engineering at BlackBerry QNX, and I'm here in the BlackBerry booth at CES 2024, and I wanted to give a brief overview of all the things that we're showing. And first to start off is the launch of our software development platform 8 here at QNX at CES 2024. This is going to be the next generation of performance, reliability, safety, and security for the next generation of operating systems. We are showcasing the QNX hypervisor in the cloud, which is a collaboration between Stellantis and Amazon AWS. We're showcasing our digital cockpit, which has been years of collaboration with Google and the development of the Android Automotive OS on top of the QNX hypervisor. And of course, we are also showcasing the launch of our brand new QNX Sound audio development platform, which is the next generation of software-defined audio for the automotive marketplace. Over here, we're showcasing a Ford F-150 Lightning electric vehicle, showcasing many different production level automotive projects from QNX. Over here, we've got our Jeep Grand Cherokee, which is showcasing our BlackBerry Ivy platform and integration with many different brand new features, as well as a BlackBerry Ivy partner ecosystem being shown all throughout the booth. Finally, we've got our Motor Trend SDV Lounge, where we'll be hosting interviews with various industry leaders throughout the week. So if you're going to be at CES, come stop by the West Hall. We're in booth 424. Come check us out. There's a lot happening.
But yeah, pretty awesome video. I think it's good. It shows that what they're doing there. In the booth, again, I think is pretty good size. Now, in terms of the next press release, QNX launches industry-first automotive software solutions to accelerate digital cockpit development. QNX Cabin simplifies the building of high-performance software-defined digital cockpits for cutting-edge in-vehicle experiences. Speed time to market, boosts global developer collaboration, and cuts the software development costs. Major APAC-based OEM selects QNX Cabin to develop its next-generation digital cockpit in the cloud. So that's pretty awesome. So we've seen, for example, they stated, like, for example, one in APAC OEM, plus it's a major APAC-based OEM, by the way, and like I think one was like, I can't remember exactly, it was Japan or something like that. The other one is Germany. So we're seeing growth in terms of sector, which is it's beneficial for this one. So if you're a global company, you could have collaborations through the cloud as opposed to, for example, slow development within the software for the modules or whatever it might be, right, in terms of system. So this actually speeds up the development time, which is very beneficial. I would assume that most OEMs will actually go towards this. Now, if BlackBerry does a great job in terms of sales, they'll all end up coming to BlackBerry for this type of system, which I'm pretty sure might happen because we've seen, for example, the collaborations. For example, the Stellantis is essentially doing the exact same, like using this from BlackBerry. And that is because Stellantis already works with Amazon and BlackBerry works with Amazon, right? With BlackBerry Ivy. So that is a perfect setup right there. And plus we've seen in the collaboration or partnership or collaboration, I believe it was, let me just double check before I state something incorrectly, right about here with Microsoft, it is a collaboration. Yeah. So collaborating with Microsoft. So if they're collaborating with Microsoft in terms of cloud, that is even more promise because other OEMs that already have a partnership or not partnership, but working with Microsoft, it almost comes to a point where they're just like, yeah, we'll select BlackBerry because you're already working with them, right? That's not necessarily always the case, but it could obviously happen, right? Now, in terms of the continuation of this press release, so in terms of cabin, it speeds up the process where I see more OEMs potentially moving towards this if they're not already working with a competitor that might be doing this. Now, the only thing is though, I will say BlackBerry has a lot of security clearances, which is awesome. And they have a bunch of certificate security things that, like for example, ASIL and all that stuff. In terms of the automotive sector, these are like security levels to meet for the components. And then OEMs from BlackBerry have stated in the past that OEMs are asking for the security levels, right? If BlackBerry has this when other competitors don't easily have these kind of levels of security, then they're more likely to gravitate towards BlackBerry. That's basically what I wanted to state for this press release. So it's actually a good press release release overall, but it's something that we've already known about before too as well. Now this next one is actually pretty awesome. So QNX, Vector, and TT-TAC Auto joins forces to develop foundational vehicle platform, software platform to turbocharge auto innovation. Now I am in the auto industry, and these are heavy hitters, and they stated in the next statement as well. So industry heavyweights in safe and secure operating system, middleware, and tooling combine their collective know-how to eliminate software integration complexities so OEMs can focus on brand differentiation. So this is awesome. This is really good. And both, like all the companies are pretty excited to be working together. And then there's a last statement right about here. They say additional details on the general availability of the vehicle software platform will be announced in fiscal year 26, which in terms of the financial side, fiscal year 26 doesn't necessarily mean 2026. It does have a portion in 2026, but fiscal year 2026, like the end of fiscal year 2025 is reported in April of 2025. So after that, we'll be getting a forecast of fiscal year 2026. So from April, not necessarily April, I think it's like end of March 31st or something like that. March 31st, end of that, so April 1st week is the mark of fiscal year 2026, I believe, or it might be mistaken by a couple weeks. But from there, so in 2025, we'll potentially hear an announcement of additional details of the general availability of the vehicle software platform, or it could go all the way till end, like the first 3 months of 2026, right? So there's that. So we could be hearing something sometime relatively soon, maybe in the next 6 months, maybe 9 months by the end of 2025, but that's pretty awesome stuff. That's the reason why I'm going over this press release stuff, just in case there is tidbits like this stuff with additional products development and all this stuff, if that makes sense. Now, in terms of a little bit more information for this company too, TT-TAC, I wanted to share because it kind of shows that everybody is gravitating towards this market. For example, NVIDIA, CEO of NVIDIA stated how massive the autonomous vehicle market will be. And we can kind of see it with the purchases right about here too. So TT-TAC, NXP buys automotive software provider TT-TAC Auto for $625 million. This was relatively within this day, like the Friday. I'm reporting this on January 10th, 2025. And the previous few days, so this news was kind of relatively late, NXP snaps up TT-TAC Auto for $625 million to accelerate autonomous vehicle safety. So there are eyeballs in terms of this market, and they're already on this market too. So NXP, in case you're not aware, NXP Semiconductor is a semiconductor company which is in the automotive and IoT industrial solutions portion as well. So it's pretty awesome. New generation of sensing and positioning with termination UWB. So they bought them, and there's obviously more gravitation towards this sector. And we could see that with Microsoft as well. right about here, because Microsoft wouldn't be collaborating if they don't see a benefit to it. So QNX collaborates with Microsoft. This was on January 6th as well. All these press releases was on January 6th, except for the rebranding of QNX, the name, the title, in terms of BlackBerry IoT to QNX. That was on January 2nd. So January 6th, QNX collaborates with Microsoft to derive software-defined vehicle innovations. QNX SDP 8.0 coming soon to Microsoft Azure. And Microsoft Azure, just in terms of information base, is right about here. So Microsoft Azure, or just Azure, is the cloud computing platform developed by Microsoft. It has management access and development of applications and services to individuals, companies, and governments through its global infrastructure. Again, like I stated before, in terms of these collaborations, they're actually pretty important because, for example, if some OEMs or whoever's working with Microsoft could be like, okay, I'm trying to do this, and they're like, oh, we already work with BlackBerry, so there's a chance that they would be more gravitating to working with BlackBerry, like we've seen, for example, with Stellantis. It seems like with the cloud software building, right? Now, in terms of this press release, it just goes over the excitement, well, not necessarily excitement, a couple of things here and there, but essentially both companies are excited to be working together, and they're talking about the importance of working together. Let me see if there was a statement right about here that was important that I remember, not that I know of, but essentially, yeah, that's working on the cloud, collaboration, and the benefits of it overall, right? Now, in terms of QNX, the next press release, QNX doubles down on developer support to fuel embedded software innovation everywhere. Free QNX everywhere software resources now available, accelerating developers' ability to access, build, and deploy QNX-based systems. This is beneficial. So they stated here they basically going to have some workers monitoring, for example, Reddit forums for QNX, like hashtag QNX or Reddit QNX, and then in GitLab and GitHub, and help developers to work on QNX. And I think this is awesome. So free developers kits and all that stuff, because if you could get early engineers working on this kind of stuff, then when they go to the workforce and they state that like the employer asking, what do you know how to work with in terms of software, then they mention QNX, then the company could potentially be like, okay, well, we'll probably develop or work with QNX as well in terms of development, because you already know how to work with it versus the other softwares. And because what could happen is sometimes there could be slowdowns where if somebody knows how to use QNX, but they don't know how to use the other programs, or in terms of develop on other softwares, and the employer says use this software, but they're like, I know how to use this one, they might have enough push to be like, okay, we'll work with QNX. Not necessarily the case, but I'm just trying to be a little bit more optimistic, which, by the way, mind you, again, I do own shares in the company, so be aware while watching this video. But if we have enough engineers overall knowing how to use QNX, and it becomes easier to work with this, like we've seen, for example, in the gaming industry, if that makes sense. If you're aware, the PlayStation 3 used some kind of cell technology, which developing games for it was quite difficult versus the Xbox. And you would see that some developers in terms of game applications didn't really want to build for the PS3. Now, they did obviously have games, but it was more of a resistance, right? So that does affect things when it comes to adaptation, and that kind of resistance you don't want to really see, especially when you're coming into the automotive industry. You want quick builds overall. Like, for example, Tesla adaptation is very quick, right? The other automakers are relatively slow, if that makes sense. So they obviously want to keep up and be ahead of everybody else, which includes potentially Tesla. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily the case right now to this day, but I know in the past Tesla's development has been substantially quick, and it still could be, right? But the other automakers are relatively slow, if that makes sense. So if you could speed up any of these processes, that becomes extremely beneficial. And if that is the case, for example, a lot of engineers who know how to use QNX versus other softwares, then that could be beneficial overall. Went on a little bit of a tangent, sorry about that, but that's the press releases. Again, quick reminder that the BlackBerry to participate in an upcoming investor event that will be on January 14th at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time, which I'll be live streaming both on YouTube and X on my channels. Now, in terms of the stock share price, like I stated in the beginning, Robinhood showed that retail investors for its platform have been predominantly selling, especially for Friday. Yet the share price has been rising overall, which is pretty awesome, even though it's against the tide of the whole entire market going down 1.6% for the S&P, Nasdaq, and Dow Jones. But indications are showing upside for the 5-year and all chart, but then there's one potential slowdown. So what I want to show is, here's the 1-year chart. So MACD line is right about here. This indicates if it's a bearish or bullish movement. And for the time being, yes, it's in the bullish movement, but it could be crossing over to the bearish movement. So in terms of downside, right? Because we've seen right about here, it was trying to get pulled down to the downside, but bounced back up and continue to the upside, as we've seen with recent days. But at the same time, with the market coming down, that could be enough pull to come to the downside potentially. But I think, in my opinion, that would be short-lived. And the reason why I'm stating that is because, again, like I said, the market was down today, but yeah, it still was up. And then plus with the past few trading, a few data points that we've seen right about here has been predominantly buys, right? Even though the volume has a little bit slowed down, but we won't know if this volume has slowed down fully until we see the next data point, entry point come in. But for the time being, just be a little bit cautious. But ultimately, the direction is to the upside because we see strong upside indication in the 5-year chart, and plus the volume has doubled within the past few data points, and not only doubled, but it has coming from a sell to a buy. So double in buying, which is awesome. In my opinion, that's showing strong upside. But again, I'm not a professional, so please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. And I do own shares in the company. And then the all chart showing strong upside as well. And the data points have been just pretty much nothing but buy volume for the most part. Now, we won't know if the buy volume has slowed down. It's kind of hard to show indication, the data points fully, but you can see buy volume, then the buy volume has increased substantially. And now this is a data point. We won't know what kind of level of volume of buying we're going to hit soon until the next data point comes in and finishes off this data point. But for the time being, strong indications to the upside. Now, if we were to come to the downside, what levels are we potentially looking at, right? Mind you, this is $4.06 US. And what I'm looking at personally, if we were coming down, like I've stated before, the resistance level is more at $3.80. We saw it provide a little bit of support at $3.80. But then the next levels, it seems like quite a bit of support is at the 360. We've seen 2 bounces off at the 360. But yeah, in my opinion, if we were to come down and come down hard, I think this moving average of 100-day moving average, I don't think we're going to come down to this, in my opinion, but this is just my opinion. But if we were to come down substantially because the market's still coming down and relying on the 1-year chart, let's just say if it were to actually provide a decent pull down, then the $3.50 bouncing off the 100-day moving average, so it's at $3.50. This is on the 5-year chart, by the way. I think it would provide quite a bit of support where we bounce off and go up to the upside, continuing on the 5-year and all-year chart indications to the upside direction, right? The only thing is, though, there is a chance that maybe it would probably provide a false breakout, providing a bear trap potentially. So maybe hitting, like, let's say 345 or something like that. I didn't verify that number, so don't quote me on that. But if we were to have a bear trap potentially, it would potentially have like that kind of quick drop and then bounce up off it fully in the meantime. But at the same time, this is a moving average, so maybe that moving average might drop down to that level as well. But I'm not expecting that. I think because with the data point, like I stated with Robinhood, and then the market's coming down, but yet BlackBerry's still pushing up persistently to the upside, and the way this management team is moving, I think everybody's seeing promise in the company, that I think overall the volume increasing for the most part as well. I think the directions will be more followed to the 5-year and all chart. What we might just end up seeing is just a slowdown potentially, and not necessarily dip down too much to the downside and just ultimately continue to upside. Now, if we go to the upside, what levels are we looking at? We're still seeing levels, issues passing in the $4 range, give or take. We just keep hovering around there. But back to the, like I stated in the last video, or second last video, can't remember, the $4.40 to $4.60 based off resistance levels, that's going to cause issues to go up to the upside still. And then the $5 clean, obviously, all these $4 or $5 clean dollar price points are going to cause issues. But then the next level is, and you can see right about here with the 5-day moving average or 5-year moving average. So 5-year chart, and then the 200-day moving average. The 200-day moving average, we see resistance at $5.55. Again, these are moving averages, so they'll obviously move day by day with the price action and all stuff. But $5.55 is going to cause this resistance most likely. And then if you look at the alt chart with the 50-day moving average for the alt chart, you can see resistance at $5.81. So by the time we move up, I'm expecting us to pretty much be stuck in that range for quite some time. And then once we pass that, we're going to see quite a bit of resistance at $6. And if you're a long-term holder, you know $6 is quite a bit of resistance. Unless some major news happens, which I'm expecting by Q4 earnings. So Q4 earnings will be reported in first week of April, if I'm not mistaken, which I will provide an updated video in terms of what you could expect for Q4. And I'll provide the dates, but those are estimated dates for now anyway on the website. But essentially, they will provide us fiscal year 2026 forecast, the outlook, right? And if the outlook comes in with massive revenue somehow, then that's going to provide us good upside potential to break through these levels in terms of $6 and all that stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But it depends on how big of a revenue they're expecting, right? And then also I'm expecting some bump, which obviously everybody's aware of this already, that they sold Silence, right? The only thing is though, even though it's pretty much from the conference call, they stated it's pretty much a done deal. In terms of market, I think sometimes they expected, like, even though it's stated as pretty much almost a done deal, it's not necessarily guaranteed. So when that news hits, I think we'll see a little bit of a bump. Will we break through levels? I don't think so. That's not necessarily the case of what I'm going for, but I'm just saying in terms of things that could provide us a little bit of a bump up to the upside. Now, ultimately, again, I'm expecting to go to the upside in my opinion, just my opinion. If we get pulled down, it could be a little bit stagnant to the downside. If not, worst case scenario, in my opinion, potentially 350, because I think the company is moving pretty strong. Like, if it wasn't moving well and the management team wasn't doing a phenomenal job, I would expect to bounce at 350, but then potentially maybe that 1 year chart would drag down the 5 year chart and all chart potentially to further downside. That would probably most likely would happen. But this management team's moving pretty well, that I would expect the 350 to be a bounce off if we do end up seeing it. That is, if we end up seeing it, ultimately just end up heading up and then being stuck within those ranges, like I stated, 440 to 460, then that $5, then that 555, 581 range, and then seeing what happens after that, because I'm pretty sure we would need to see earnings to break through that level. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. It's not guaranteed. I hope the case is we end up flying. That'd be awesome, but we'll see. Just the problem is the market is a little bit shaky. That's the issue. But that's basically it for today's video. If you did find it beneficial, consider dropping a like. It does help with the channel, so thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. If you want to be notified when I do upload my next videos in terms of BlackBerry videos, I do upload market videos as well, but BlackBerry videos, live stream the conference calls, investors, earnings, all that stuff. Consider following and subscribing both on X and YouTube so you can be notified when I do. Thanks again for watching. Appreciate it. Take care. God bless and peace.